Hey everybody, welcome to Priceless B-Movies. Before I start, I want to apologize. I haven't posted much in the last month or so. I've been exceedingly busy here in lovely old Champaign, Illinois, between promotion at my job and doing some local film work with different people here in town as well. It's been taking away from the time that I normally have to do these reviews. In particular, I've been helping a buddy of mine named Danny Hill out. Danny Hill has done a new crime film called Holly, which is going to premiere here in Champaign at the Art Theater on December 20th. There you go, Danny. Now I've plugged it for you. That and a couple other projects have really eaten up a lot of my time in the last month, but I'm back better and more pissed at mainstream cinema than ever, so here we go. Summer School. Summer School has Mark Harmon as a high school gym teacher who is kind of bullied, forced, blackmailed, however you want to put it, into teaching a remedial English class in summer school by the slimy vice principal that we've all come to hate in these 80s high school movies. He does get a little bit of assistance from another teacher played by Kirstie Alley, and they end up, kind of slowly falling in love in that campy 80s style where, she hates him at the beginning but is magically won over by him near the end. There were a lot of kind of like high school teenager comedies in the 80s, and I think like a lot more than some people might realize. When American Pie came out in 99, it kind of gave that resurgence to the whole concept of kind of the high school comedy, and we started seeing so many more of them. Not so much in like the early to mid 90s, but from about 99 onward, and now even still there's like, now we're in kind of the age of Superbad and 21 and over, and but really, I think the 80s had the best ones. The 80s really did have better high school comedies. We had all the John Hughes movies, like 16 Candles, Ferris Bueller. We had Fast Times at Ridgemont High, which is one of the best movies of the 80s period. And we had movies like Summer School. And of course, it can't be too easy for Mark Harmon's character. He can't have like a bunch of great A-plus students. Instead we've got this great group of outcasts. There's honestly too many of them to make mention here, but I'm going to give off kind of my top four, which were Dean Cameron and Gary Riley as a couple of guys who are just really into horror movies, which, let's face it, I have to automatically like these guys, because that was me in high school. Fuck, that's me today. We got Kelly Jo Minter, who was also in a movie called Popcorn that I reviewed a few months ago when I first started this page. Here she plays a student who is dyslexic, and she's struggling to get her driver's license over the course of the summer, too. Here's a question. I don't even know this. Do they even give driving lessons in the summer, or is that something? It doesn't really matter. There's a lot of funny stuff involving her trying to drive in this movie. And last but not least, Shawnee Smith, who a lot of people today know either from the Saw movies or from the Ted Danson show, which is in the late 90s, called Becker. Those are the two things I know her best from anyway. But here she's another student who is pregnant and who also has to give birth over the course of the summer. It's interesting to me because it's like the way they've set this movie up. Just about every student has some arc or something in addition to the class that they have to pass, that they have to overcome over the course of the movie. So it's like, toward the end, you get this great hodgepodge of little victories that each of these students go through. And ultimately, what I love about Summer School is, one, it's not R-rated. It doesn't have to be. This isn't one of those 80s comedies where they had to flash boobs across the screen every 10 minutes. That's good. Not saying I have anything against movies like that, but it was a nice kind of a refreshing take on the genre, I think. I think the best way to describe Summer School is to say that it's like a feel-good movie, and I know that that's like a cliche that a lot of critics use, this is the feel-good movie of the winter, this is the feel-good movie of the summer, this is the feel-good movie over playing at the porn theater downtown, whatever your definition of feel-good is. But honestly, that's how I would describe this movie. There aren't really a lot of depressing or distressing moments in it. It's all funny. It's all kind of, lighthearted. And at the end of it, you're just kind of like, oh, well, that was nice. That was a nice movie. I had fun with that movie. And it doesn't really need to do more than that, but it doesn't really try to do more than that either. There are a lot of great moments in this film, too, involving these kids. The two horror fans that I mentioned earlier, Dean Cameron and Gary Riley, they are hilarious. And at one point, just to screw with the vice principal, they have this mock slaughterhouse in the classroom where they make it look like all the kids are horribly disemboweled and maimed and all that. And it's a great prank, and it's definitely the high point of the movie, but there's a lot of other great scenes involving these kids and how they're, they're not quite, book smart, which is why they're in this summer school class to begin with, but that they all have their really cool, quirky traits that they get to have fun with. And, not so much in like a rebellious sense, like they're fighting the system or anything, but just because it's funny. Just because it's funny. Another reason I think this is kind of a feel-good movie is that none of the jokes seem necessary. They're just kind of there because the characters are having fun. So, like, we as an audience get to have fun watching it. I don't have too many gripes about Summer School. I think the only thing that really bothers me about it is that it doesn't really try very hard to be anything more than it is. It is just an 80s high school movie, and honestly, with the setup and with as interesting as some of these characters are, I do think they legitimately had a shot of, making this something really unique, but there isn't a whole lot to make it stand out kind of the same way that Fast Times does, or kind of the same way that Ferris Bueller does. It is just kind of the random 80s comedy that used to play at 3 o'clock on TBS all the time. I mean, it's not too much more than that. It's a fun movie, but I do think that it does miss some opportunities to really stand out. Gonna give Summer School 3 stars. This is a fun movie, but yeah, it's not a movie that you're going to watch. It's almost kind of like the Tommy Boy of the 80s, where you could watch it over and over again and it never stops being funny, but it's not like noteworthy other than that. There's no Oscar winners here. This is just kind of a fun movie, and if that's all you want out of it, then you're going to have a good time. So that's my review of Summer School. Stay tuned, I got a lot more reviews coming your way. As always, if there's a movie you can think of that's underrated or overlooked by either mainstream audiences or critics or both, and you'd like to know what I think of it, please let me know in the comments section, and I'll see what I can do about finding a copy of that movie and getting a review put up for you. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more Priceless B movies.